All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Larry Jemison Jr. I represent TribalHarmos.com and the Connect platform. We'll get more into that as we go along. I would like to tell you a little bit about why you're here. Hopefully, you're here to secure a wonderful career-based position with the Microsoft Corporation. This event could not take place without Microsoft, and they have been a long-time supporter of Tribal Hamos, as well as HBCU Connect and the Connect platform. So we thank them for being here tonight, all of their leadership and all of their experts. We thank them for being here. And we also want to thank the team that helped put this together, as well as you, the candidates, because without you, this event is null and void. So we want you to have an opportunity. If you have not yet, please remember to mute your line. We're going to try to cut down on any background noise, as well as cut your video off. And if you'd like to communicate, please do so through the chat feature. All right, I'm Larry Jemison Jr., and I will be your host and moderator for this evening's program. So if you're here for a fun, fantastic event with Microsoft, you're in the right place, and thank you for coming out. At this point, we're going to cover our event agenda, and that's going to look like a welcome from myself, and then we're going to go into the keynote from Mr. Ernesto Lara Matthews, who's a principal engineering manager with Microsoft. And then we're going to meet the Microsoft team, who's here to the SCIM team, who was here to dedicate their time, invest their time into giving you some nuggets of wisdom so that you can hopefully become a part of the Microsoft team. And then we're going to go into a panel discussion. We'll have some time to meet the panel, ask a couple questions, and then go in a little deeper when we open the actual panel discussion up. So we'll make this kind of interactive where we'll get to know who the panel is, ask them some questions, and hopefully some things that will offer you some benefit in what it might take to secure an interview and a position from Microsoft. That's our goal, right? So let's prepare to do that. After that, we're going to try to have a live question and answer session. Again, we'll be utilizing the chat feature for that, but we'll be utilizing the chat feature for anything you'd like to comment in the chat feature. So let us know you're on. Let us know your name. Let us know your background. If you want to put that in the chat, that's fine. Let us know where you studied, where'd you go to school. Those types of things are really good to impress our Microsoft team. So don't be hesitant in using the chat feature and letting us know you're here. Being that this event is virtual, the chat feature is the way to communicate, and we will be monitoring that so that we can answer your questions. All right. Then at the end, we will have the event wrap up, which will be our end, and then our next steps. Okay, so from there, I guess we'll just move into a brief welcome. Again, my name is Larry Jemison Jr., and I'll be hosting this event tonight. We want to thank our team from Microsoft. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of you candidates who are here tonight. TribalHamos.com and HBCU Connect has put a lot of hours and a lot of time in trying to source the best qualified candidates for these Microsoft opportunities. So we want to tell you that we're very proud of our partnership with Microsoft, but we're also equally excited about the opportunity that lies in front of you. If you're ready to embark on a new career, not a job, because there's jobs everywhere with the supply chain the way it is, rising costs, service levels down, there's jobs everywhere. But if you're truly committed and dedicated and looking for a great career position with Microsoft, you're in the right place. Okay, we're here to represent the Tribal Hamos platform and the Connect platform, which was organized and created by our founder, Mr. Will Moss, some 23 years ago. Will saw a need for the representation of Latinx, Hispanic, as well as the African-American community. And so he started creating portals, online media, online websites for opportunities such as this. So we are here tonight. We're thankful to the founder, Will Moss, for all he's done in allowing us to create these partnerships and these networks that will allow you to hopefully win big and secure a partnership. All right, so thank you and welcome. At this time, we do want to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Ernesto Lara Matthews, who is a principal engineering manager with Microsoft. Ernesto, are you here with us?
Hello, how's it going?
Hey, I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good myself. I'm really excited about this event. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. We've heard a lot about you. I did get a chance to speak with you yesterday, so I kind of got the longer version. But tell us a little bit about your background And I know you're going to give us a keynote today, so we're ready. We're going to strap in, and we're ready for what you got for us.
Awesome, man. Like I'm gonna be very brief with my introduction. I mean, since I'm talking about that during the keynote as well. But like I was basically born in Mexico City. I moved to the US to work for Microsoft, and I've been here for 14 years, growing my career. As you mentioned it, we sell careers, we don't sell jobs, doing different roles for the company. And at this point, I'm a principal engineering manager. I manage a team of around 10 people, give or take. So if you allow me, I'll just share my presentation. And as part of the keynote, I hope people get to know me a little bit better as well. Please
Yes,
tell me if you can see the content.
Excited. We're excited about it. Let's do it.
All right, let's see how this goes. Technical difficulties and such. Hopefully people can see my presentation at this point.
Yes.
The title of my keynote is SCIM se puede. Currently, I'm here representing the SCIM organization. That stands for Security, Compliance, Identity, and Management. As was said before, my name is Ernesto Lara Matthews. I'm a principal engineer manager, and I'm part of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So let's start by talking a little bit about who I am. Who I am, I'm gonna try to bring my diverse background here and kind of like build a little bit of rapport with the people. My name is Ernesto Lara Matthews. I was born and raised in Mexico City. I am the oldest of 3 siblings. My parents and my sisters, Luz and Alejandra, they still live back in Mexico City. I also have a nephew and a niece that I love very, very much. Growing up in Mexico was an interesting experience. It is a country of great contrast and inequalities. Being a middle-class family, we had access to certain things, especially like private education, that not everyone can afford. I'm really grateful for my parents for teaching me to be cognizant of that privilege and encouraging me to help others to make our community better. I owe my parents my sense of strong work ethics, my perseverance, my sense of community, and my commitment to others. These strong values have taken me so far to where I am today. I'm really, really grateful for my parents and my family. Let's talk a little bit about my love for technology. Like some of you, I'm sure, it was through video games that I fell in love with programming. It was in the 80s, think about Stranger Things, I guess. So I'm pretty old and dated at this point. When I was 5, my parents got us an Atari 2600 console. I was fascinated by the cartridges and the games and how all the circuitry inside them could control what was on the screen. As I mentioned before, I was privileged enough to attend private school. They used to have those Commodore 64 machines that you saw in their computer lab. My first programming language was when I was 6 years old. The language was called Logo, and it was about drawing pictures on the screen with a little turtle. From then on, I was hooked up. I did programs in BASIC, I did programs in Pascal, eventually C, C++, Visual Basic, what have you, right? Fast forward a decade and change when I was able to go to college and get my degree in electronics engineering with a specialization in robotics and intelligent systems from the Tec de Monterrey. This is a really prestigious university in Mexico that I was able to go to thanks to the support of my parents. After that, I worked in several industries back in Mexico, from e-banking to insurance to education and even the public sector. I love technology because it is an ever-evolving field. I've had so much satisfaction throughout my career, and I cannot wait to see what the next thing is. Coming to the US. By 2007, as I mentioned, I had worked for at least 5 different companies, always wanting more. So I had a set of jobs, as you put it before. Keep in mind, I graduated in 2003, so that's 5 jobs in 4 years. It's kind of interesting. A friend of mine suggested me to attend a recruiting event that Microsoft was holding back in Mexico City, went through an interview, got the offer, and moved to Boston. This would end up being the most momentous, leaving family and friends behind and moving to another country with a different culture, different language, and a different way of life. What was going to be a small adventure for a couple of years, it ended up being a change in my life that has continued to this day. Here in the US, I met my wonderful husband, George. We got a condo and we settled down. I made some of the best friends a person can ask for here. I've gotten involved with my community and have been able to make a difference locally here. Last year, in October, I became an American citizen after a very long process of almost 14 years. I look back and I do not regret taking that plane back in 2007. Let's talk a little bit about what excites me. So to this day, I still love video games. I prefer consoles because they are more convenient, and my husband does as well. We both are foodies. We love to try new things. We love to try new food. We love to experience all of the cuisines that the world has to offer. I'm completely convinced that the best way to know a different culture is to experience their food. I love art and architecture. I also like to dabble a little in interior design. I love to travel, except for the getting there part. I hate flying. And I like meeting new people of different backgrounds. I am also an avid gym enthusiast. There was a time before college that I was preparing to become a professional pianist. I studied for about 16 years of my life since I was a kid. But by the time I stopped, I was practicing upwards of 4 hours every day. At that point, a decision had to be made, either engineering or piano. After the first year in college, I had to make that choice, and makes you wonder what it could have been. In the end, my true passion is still solving complex problems, making a difference in the world, and helping people out. All this can be done through the power of technology. This is a small glimpse into who I am. It is very nice to meet you all. In this section, I would like to talk about my Latinidad. This is a concept that I arrived to in the US, and I would like to share to you the evolution of how I arrived to it. I'm not an expert in the topic, so please understand that this is a personal take. What does it mean to be a Latino in Mexico? This is something that I wondered after coming to the US. I left Mexico when I was already 27 years of age. Back there, you don't think about yourself as Latino. You barely think about yourself as a Mexican. I used to think about myself just as a person. This is not to say that there are no differences, since inequality is really high back in Mexico. In these photos, you can see poor neighborhoods right next to the most wealthy neighborhoods in the city. But the concept of Latino is just something that doesn't fit within our society. It is an interesting experience coming from a country where I was effectively part of the majority and the privileged class, and come to a country where I'm not necessarily part of that majority. One of the first experiences I can recall when I moved here, I had just moved to my first apartment outside of the Boston area. I was eager to meet people and get to know this country better. I said hi to my neighbor for the first time, and he asked me, "Oh, where are you from?" I responded, "Oh, I'm from Mexico, and I just moved here a couple of months ago." Immediately after, he asked me, "Are you legal?" To which I didn't know how to reply. So I just kept on going about my day. The US, even before coming here, I believe that the US was a country of immigrants. Coming here was such an enriching experience. Getting to know people from different backgrounds, getting to understand the different cultures and the value we create when we work together. It was really exhilarating. Living in such a heterogeneous place made me understand my identity better. I became acquainted with the idea of Latinidad, making me reevaluate the way that I thought about myself as I start to make friends with other people with similar backgrounds. I realized that immigrants bring with them their culture, a little piece of their country, and a little piece of their history. This in turn makes America richer and more diverse. I wanted to have a small part in this exchange. In turn, this made me become even more interested in my history, my country, and my traditions. I learned more about Mexican culture after coming to the US because I so wanted to share it with the people around me. A lot of people come from different places and different walks of life. As I kept meeting more and more people, I listened to their stories. Lots of immigrants and descendants of immigrants as well. Some people come for a little while and then they go back to their countries. Some others, like myself, take root and settle down. Some people were born here and it was their parents or their grandparents that brought their culture and traditions from their own country. Some people had the privilege to immigrate based on employment, like myself. Some less fortunate were running away from danger or persecution in their home countries. Some are refugees. Some come to meet their families again. Some risk it all to come here. Some didn't even make it here at all. No matter the path that we took, we all came here for similar reasons, to find our opportunities, to make a better life for ourselves and our families, and to pursue our happiness. My Latinidad. Today, I fully believe I am a member of the Latinx community in this country. I believe we make this country better and richer with our cultural contributions. Just like my parents taught me, I believe it is my responsibility to use my privilege to help others in my community. I love the fact that I have been able to do it so, thanks to my job and the people that support me. As I mentioned earlier, I just became an American citizen last year. I am really proud of the fact, as I am proud of my past, my heritage, and my contributions to this country and community. That's a little bit about me. Sorry. Let me talk about Microsoft, right? This is what everyone is here for. So let's talk about Microsoft. What is Microsoft? Is it our products and services? Is it Xbox, Surface, Office, Windows Azure, Visual Studio? Well, yes, but maybe a better question would be, what do I love the most about working with Microsoft? Is it having the potential of changing the world every day? Is it knowing that the code that I write reaches millions and millions of people across the world? Well, that too. But is it about working with the smartest people that I have ever met, learning every day, and maybe even teaching them something new too? Yes, yes, yes. It might sound trite, but Microsoft is its people, the people that create the culture that encourages us to be our very authentic selves. Because being our authentic selves every day allows us to do our very best, to be our very best. And when you are your very best, you can change the world for the best. I'm really proud of this company. One of the most important pieces of advice I've learned early in my career was said to me by my first manager at Microsoft. He said, software is not about code. Software is all about people. It is people that create the software. It is people that use the software. It is people that break the software. The software is for people, and we make the software for people. People, people, people. Any non-trivial problem requires collaboration. Any complex problem requires a team. Solving the biggest problems in the world requires one Microsoft. One Microsoft is an integral part of our values. It means working together across boundaries. It means collaborating in ways that we didn't believe possible before. It means getting better together. I love this part of our culture. I came to the US to work for Microsoft. I thought my English was decent until I had to talk to native speakers. My first day at the office was daunting, but extremely rewarding. I met talented people from all over the world who were supportive and willing to help. Slowing down, talking in Spanish, they made me feel like I belonged, just as I was. Microsoft has a strong network of employee resource groups, and I started meeting people through the Hispanic and Latinx at Microsoft ERG, also known as HOLA. As I mentioned earlier, my identity as Latino is very dear to me now. I wanted to create a space for other members of the community, as well as their allies, to share that sense of belonging. So in 2017, I founded the local chapter of the HOLA ERG at the Microsoft New England Research and Development Center. This is located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We have hosted several events to increase awareness and allyship internally and create a positive impact with local schools and organizations. Hopefully you had a chance to see these photos. I'm really proud of those events. This chapter is part of a global community that works within Microsoft to recruit and grow diverse talent, provide opportunities to members and allies, and to work with external organizations to have positive impact in the Hispanic and Latinx community. I'm really happy to have this be a part of my life and to be an active member of this community. In addition to HOLA, Microsoft has several other employee resource groups. They are great resources to learn more, expand our horizons, get more diverse views, and become a better ally for us. It's yet another reason why I love working here. Personally, I also identify as bisexual. I used to not be very open about my sexuality. I have found space and support from my friends at the GLIM ERG. GLIM is the Global LGBTQI+ Employees and Allies at Microsoft ERG. Thanks to their encouragement and their shared experiences, I've been able to bring yet another aspect of my identity forth. Diversity and inclusion tend to sound cliché nowadays. Everyone's talking about them. In my personal experience, Microsoft walks the talk when it comes to these topics. The last thing that I want to talk about Microsoft as a whole. Culture is what drives us. The culture of giving time, giving money, giving skills to address the issues facing our world. This is the last aspect of our culture that I will really like to highlight, but it's one that's really close to my heart. As I mentioned in the beginning, one of my core values is helping others, acknowledging my privilege and using that privilege to do some good. It's just how I was raised. Microsoft matches our donations of time and money, effectively doubling our impact. Over the past couple of years, I've hosted a couple of fundraisers that have raised more than $10,000, each benefiting Latinx background students pursuing a career in STEM and immigrants and refugees through diverse nonprofit organizations. It is really rewarding to be able to do this and to know that your colleagues and friends will help you support these causes as well. I will close this section with our mission. Microsoft mission: empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Every person, even me. Let me take a breath. Okay, SCIM is hosting this event, so I really want to talk about SCIM. As I mentioned earlier, SCIM stands for Security, Compliance, and Identity Management. These represent the most critical priorities for our customers in a world awash in digital threats, regulatory scrutiny, and state complexity. This is the newest engineering organization at Microsoft. Cybersecurity is still one of the greatest unsolved problems of our time. Digital services are an integral part of our lives, at work and at home. Everyone needs safety and security, and trust that their data is safe, regardless of where it's hosted or where they use it. These are some things that we listen from our customers. Security has never been more critical. Everyone is feeling the effects of the cyber attacks becoming more frequent, and large-scale attacks like the ones in Colonial Pipeline have heightened that sense of alert. Ransomware attacks have increased 150% in 2021 alone. Phishing attacks increased by upwards of 600% since 2020, and every second, 579 password attacks are carried out. This is a staggering number. We also hear about the pressures of securing multi-cloud ID environments. And finally, another consistent thing we hear from customers is that the increasingly complex regulatory landscape makes it really hard to figure out what's important and what the risks are and their impact even for organizations that don't have that much regulation. Let's look at some numbers. So Microsoft has been in the trench lines for a long time now. It may surprise you to know that Microsoft is the largest security vendor in the world. We secure more than 650,000 organizations across the globe, and countless users rely on our services every day. Being in the trenches for a number of high-profile recent attacks has enabled us to use the experience to collectively elevate our defenses for the benefit of our customers. We track 40 active nation-state actors and 140 threat groups representing over 20 countries. We have a big footprint in the internet, from Azure to Dynamics to Xbox. We have a wide view of the security landscape thanks to that. And you can really see our signals at work. We process 24 trillion signals every day, and we use it to help mitigate risks via the cloud. Just as an example, last year we blocked 32 billion email threats last year. Think about those numbers. They're really, really big. Let's take a look at what the future holds for us. So Microsoft has been investing in this space from the early 2000s, and we've always been investing in the future. We're always doing prospective research and development in the hottest areas in this space. In the last 5 years, we have invested $5 billion in this space. We're projecting to invest in the next 5 years, $20 billion to be prepared. Let's take a look at some of the offerings. These make the core of our Can somebody help me mute the echo? Thank you. So we have Defender and Sentinel. These are the core pieces of our security offering. We have Azure Active Directory, and this is the core piece, is really the cornerstone for the identity solution. 365 Compliance has a name. Priva is a very new offering from November 2021, and it allows you to manage the privacy in your space. And finally, Microsoft Endpoint Manager. It provides management capabilities to your endpoints, whether they're mobile devices, Windows workstations, Linux workstations, or even Mac OS computers. We need you. We're now hiring for a variety of roles: program managers, software engineers, ops engineers, SecOps engineers, service engineering, and data scientists. Hopefully we can make some hires from this event. All right. I mean, I talked a lot about me, a lot about my perspective, a lot about my culture, and a lot about what I like about Microsoft, right? But what do I even do? I didn't talk about that at all. So as I hinted before, I'm part of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. If we think about the mission, a little bit paraphrasing, our mission is to empower workers to securely achieve more using the devices that they love. Device management is all about managing policies, applications, and access to the data, so it can be done in a secure fashion. We work on the space of the cloud native management, the right-hand side of this diagram, and we basically deal with deploying applications to devices, securing policies so that devices are compliant when you access the resources, and we give the ability for employees to use their personal devices in a secure fashion. Whether the devices are provided by the company or the devices are brought in by the user, we have solutions for both scenarios. This is a very large-scale system. We deal with tens of thousands of customers, and we manage tens of millions of devices, and that number keeps increasing. In order for us to deal with that level of complexity, we have a sophisticated microservices architecture, separating all the concerns and making sure that we have high availability on our services. We use Service Fabric, we use some of our Azure foundations, Cosmos DB, and our products to build on top of that experience. And where exactly in this diagram I fit? Me and my team were in charge of managing the experiences for the iOS and macOS devices. So if you're using an iPhone or a macOS machine and you're managed by Intune, you're likely running some of our code. We have several millions of those devices. And this concludes my keynote. Hopefully you learned a little bit about me, a little bit about SCIM, a little bit about Endpoint Manager, and a little bit about iOS and Mac management from Microsoft. Thank you so very much, and gracias for having me here. My name again is Ernesto Lara Matius. This is my LinkedIn. I'm also hiring, so let's connect.
Ernesto, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I don't know where we want to start. You gave us so much good information, so much good content. But I think the first thing, if I was a candidate, I would make sure that I took down that LinkedIn information just so I'd have another touch point with you and be able to reach back out to you. I guess one of the things that I noticed that stood out of all the content was the red mustache.
Of course,
I have to ask you, what was the driving force for the red mustache?
So as I mentioned, every October in Microsoft, we have this event that we call the Give campaign. So throughout the month of October, we're encouraged to make donations to organizations and charities of our choice, which the company will match. So it's kind of like a drive for donations. For the past couple of years, I've hosted an event in which I'm auctioning my beard, which I grew during the pandemic to begin with. So that particular year, the offering there was, hey, the more money we reach, the more I will challenge. No? So I would shave it, I would leave the mustache, I would dye my my mustache. So the challenge was to reach $10,000 in donations, and I would dye that mustache. So that's why it was orange for a month or so. It was a really fun event, and we got some good money for good organizations making change.
Well, congratulations. I mean, you've given us so much in all of you done. Congratulations on your U.S. citizenship.
Thank you.
You seem to just be a driving force that just wants to continue to reach the next level. So I guess another quick question we have you, then we're going to move on. But another quick question is, you identified the Atari 2600 as one of your baselines where you got started, the interest there. Are you still into gaming? Do you still like video games? And if so, what platform do you like?
Yeah, I mean, we're basically Xbox. We also have a PlayStation because of the exclusives. But like at this point, it's consoles. And I used to do a lot of Overwatch, probably last year. I've gotten a little bit bored with it. I love the Final Fantasy games. Those are really cool to have. And recently in PlayStation, we started playing a game called Returnal. It's kind of like an interesting auto-generated dungeon kind of thingy. I recommend it if people have the console.
Very nice, very nice. One more quick one before we move on further into the agenda. But you said that it's not so much about code, that software is about people.
Yeah, that is correct.
For our candidates that are on the line tonight, if they were to join the team and they have a special set of skills and they have an interest there, do you feel like they'll get adequate coaching, or how does that work? Once they get hired on, how does it work?
Definitely. No, we look for a set, a really holistic set of core competencies in our candidates. No, so technical skill is one of them. Problem solving, collaboration is another one of them. Driving for results is yet another one of them. Leadership, judgment, flexibility. Right. It's all about demonstrating that ability to learn, that ability to adapt, and that ability to solve complex problems. That the actual act of coding in a given language, it's something that can be taught. So we focus on skills that will enable you to keep learning day after day. In my career, I have had to code in so many languages that I have lost count of them. So like every new project, you likely have to learn something new. That's also part of the challenge in Microsoft.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for that keynote. You gave us a lot of good content, a lot of good information. Who knew that little turtle from Lolo would start you on a wonderful career, and,
Yep.
and look where you've gone. So thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for having me again. I'll hang around for the networking part and everything. So thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thank you so much. We may have some follow-up questions for you here in a little bit. So hang on with us, and thank you. All right. So now we're going to go to a gentleman who is actually on our panel. Give him a little time to tell us about himself, and we'll hear more from him during the panel section. But Luis Mendoza, are you there, sir?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good to hear you tonight. I learned yesterday that you were a world-class dancer, and that's part of the imagery we see here. So how are you doing? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, it turns out I dedicated 15 years of my teenage years basically to do Irish dancing. I ended up being a professional Irish dancer, going to World Irish Dancing Championships. It was really good. I would say that kind of formed all this discipline in my person, helping on the other side. So that's part of my identity. I would say it's my true self. And I mean, let me just add, like Ernesto, I loved your presentation. You almost made me drop into tears at some point because I can relate so much with all of the stuff that you said. Because yeah, like you can tell from my little slide that I have here. I'm also born and raised in Mexico City, right? So, and something interesting that popped up to me is that yeah, you being born and raised there, you just identify yourself as yes, I am Mexican, and that's all, right? But as you move outside, as you get here to the US, you kind of say, oh no, I'm actually Latin. There's a whole different culture, and
No problem.
when you arrive here to the U.S., I'm sorry, there was someone. Yeah. So when you arrive here to the U.S., something quite surprising and you do not really expect is when you realize it's truly a very diverse and very full of different backgrounds and cultures, a country full of this, and it's something just so rich for you when you get this opportunity to talk to all these many and many people at any moment in your day, and that includes the workplace. And I want to come to this because me being a collaborator in Microsoft, it's literally day to day my experience when I get to make even friends with some co-workers that maybe they are from some other regions and cultural backgrounds here in the US, born and raised here, but not necessarily with, you know, from a very specific, I would say, nationality, like no one came or non-immigrants, right? Or maybe it is the case. And at some point, you will end up getting a lot of different background from Moldova, I would say, in my own experience, Moldova, Russia, India, Africa, China, France, Morocco. I cannot recall of all of them, and it's just so amazing. And every single day when you go to lunch with your co-workers and you get to share the different, folklore that they have in their families, in their countries, it's just fantastic. But something that I really like from about working here is when I jumped into that airplane after getting my offer from Microsoft. I crossed these coding interviews and I impressed my interviewers, and I think I'm ready for it. But once you are on that airplane and then you are on your way to actually start a new career, right? Maybe a lot of stuff is going on in your mind, and then the moment you arrive here, you might feel insecure because you are full of everything that it's just so new to you. And it's just so comforting when actually you get to the workplace and you see that your coworkers actually will turn into in your allies, right? Because maybe you are not fluent in English. Maybe you thought you were, like Ernesto said, but actually you were not because you were struggling even to understand. But you can always feel like comfortable enough to tell them, hey, can you repeat that, or can you explain me what this means? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't really understand what happened in the meeting. It is such a challenge for you, but you shouldn't be or feel ashamed of that. On the other hand, they are actually encouraging you to ask for help. So that's kind of a big part of the culture, I would say, because it really pushes you to become like a more confident engineer and person, an individual collaborator or contributor, because everyone is there to help you. So like Ernesto said, software is not about coding and typing something. Yeah, it's about people, and it's about how we collaborate, how we drive for results. And that's actually being shown in this whole set of coding interviews, and that's something I wanted to mention to every one of you. Like, don't be, of course we will be nervous, but don't be so nervous that you think you're jumping into an exam. Whenever you jump into an interview, you're just there to chat with your interview, to meet them, and they want to meet you as well. They want to see how you develop in an actual work environment, because you jump into a technical interview. Yes, there are technical topics, but ultimately every day in the workplace, what you will be doing is actually performing this type of conversations, how you break a problem apart, how do you tackle your assumptions, do you think out loud, do you kind of try to connect with your coworker, in this case your interviewer, to kind of dissect the problem in a way that you would be understanding it better. So yeah, just be your true self, go there and feel excited about it, and about what could be your potential future career, right? So yeah, I mean, I just want to share a little bit about what I do in Microsoft. Turns out, actually, the product that I currently work at, we are customers from Ernesto's product. we have also a lot of customers out there that will potentially or currently use our product. We deploy a lot of configurations, and with big responsibilities, big products comes actually big customers, right? So that's another thing that you probably, when you join the company, you're actually not thinking about it, but the moment you are put in front of it and then you face the situation, you have a whole team that will back you up, and that will be there to train you and help you to actually deal with these situations. And you will see that they're actually trusting you. They actually are seeing you as their ally. And I'm talking about the customers. That's something that I feel is really exciting. You see the customers using the product and involving you in the entire process, and you, as you enjoy in resolving these complex technical problems, you're actually contributing in a way broader, I would say, audience when you say the end-to-end scenario where your product is being used, or whatever you are developing. So these types of opportunities are all over the company in Microsoft. So definitely, I would say, if you like this idea of not only being in software but actually being involved in a team where you will be sneaking and peeking into different types of processes and people and teams, this is the right place for you. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit about me. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'm happy to answer them.
Well, thank you, Luis. That is awesome. It's amazing to hear. I like you used a couple words. One being team, which we know is huge, particularly when you're at Microsoft and managing the type of threats that you and Ernesto have described. But it also is good to hear that even though you both work within the same company, you said that you are a customer of Ernesto's product. So that's also interesting for our candidates to hear, because your customer can be both internal and external. And in this case, it's internal, but you want to make sure that you're working for the best to optimize all of Microsoft. So you've given us some good points there. And if you'll hold on, we're going to come back to you for some questions, but we got to introduce a few more folks who are joining us tonight. But if you'll stay with us, we'll circle back.
Sure thing.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Alvin Chardon, are you here today? Mr. Alvin Chardon, Principal Software Engineering Manager with Microsoft. Are you here? Are you on mute with us, or are you on the line?
I think he might join us in a little bit. He had a conflict.
Okay, no problem. I knew that he might be a little late for another obligation. So we'll move on to Miss Gabriela Scardina Silva. Are you here with us, Gabriela?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hey, Gabriela, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great. And they told me you live up near the Boston area. I actually did my master's up at a school there by the name of Babson College. Are you familiar with Babson? It's in the Boston area.
I am not, but I'll look it up now.
Check it out. It's an entrepreneurial. It's an entrepreneurship school, and it's in that Boston area. I think you'll enjoy the history on it. But enough about that. Let's hear about you. Tell us about you. I know you're a software engineer too at Microsoft. Tell us a little bit about you so our candidates will know.
Yeah, sure. So currently I live near Boston, but I'm actually from like a medium-sized city in the state of São Paulo in Brazil. I was born and raised there, and I did my bachelor's in the University of São Paulo. But in my third year, I came to Philadelphia for a visiting student 1 year abroad program on a scholarship. And I had no idea at the time. I mean, I knew it was going to be great, but I had no idea at the time it would change my path so much, so that I came back. So while I was in Pennsylvania, I applied in one of the on-campus career fairs for an internship with Microsoft, and I had no expectations, but I actually got the internship, and that really opens my doors to be able to come back. So that was a great way for me to see how things don't always line up as you plan for them. I went back to Brazil, and so I was actually an industry hire when I came back, because before in between, I worked at a small startup, a startup that was a bit more mature, and then I did some freelancing, and then I came back to Microsoft. So that experience of being an intern first gave me connections, and actually two of the people that are here talking today are actually a big part of my Microsoft life. One of them is Alvin. They just mentioned that he's my current manager, and he was also my manager at one of my managers at my internship. So that connection really just and his commitment to trying to get a diverse set of candidates to be in the interview loops is really why I'm here. And the reason that also I think have been very successful is because Ernesto, with his commitment to creating Latinx group of people, really onboarded me when I joined. And so it's been 4 years, and I've had a great experience so far.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Gabrielle. I think that's amazing. And you're actually giving us, I guess, a little different perspective, because you're kind of coming to us as intern experience and as a permanent hire. So tell us, when you made the transition from intern to now you're going into Microsoft, this is your career now. You're hired on. How did that feel? I mean, at that point, you're representing the Latinx community. You're coming from Brazil. Now you're at Microsoft. And how did that feel? Describe it to us.
Yeah, so it felt really great because it wasn't even like I had that on my plans the whole time. So it was really a choice of, yes, I think that makes a lot of sense to me where I was experimenting what kind of things I wanted to do. And then when the connection came to be part of an interview loop, I was really exploring like what I remembered from the intern experience. I remembered, okay, everybody that I met is really great about empowering me to learn more. That is really like the key for me about how everybody has growth mindset, top down and also bottoms up. And going back as an industry hire, a lot of people are hired through, the college and interning experience, but as an industry hire, I actually got one of my interviewers ask me, so you came from these like smaller startups and like different jobs. How do you feel about how important is it for you? How many people get each change that you make? And at the time, I just said, well, even if it's just one person, if I make the right solution for them, like I'm happy. But then as my career grew here, I really understood what it means that Microsoft gives a chance that before I hadn't even planned for that, but it was like a great choice for my career in terms of impact. Any button that you add impacts a lot of people. And so that was one of my key positive points.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're glad you're here with us tonight to kind of give us that introspect, give us the perspective of both the intern who has turned her career into a Microsoft a glowing sensation, and we're just glad to have you here. So thank you. And if you don't mind holding on with us, we may circle back and ask you a couple more questions, but we want to get to a couple more panelists as well.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Alizar Canali, are you on with us today?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Alizar, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Good. Yeah, they told me you were going to be getting on, so we've been looking forward to you giving us some tidbits about who you are. You want to tell us who Alizar Canali is outside of your software engineering platform, because we know you are a software engineer, but give us a little more.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was born in Mexico City also. I lived basically all my life over there. Not in Mexico City. I moved to Tijuana, next to San Diego, California. Basically all my life I lived in Tijuana. I studied my BS in computer science in the 90s back then, and started working in different industries, uh, starting from the university. I worked there to telecommunication companies and even a racetrack and casino company. And well, different areas, different industries, very different works that I made on all these companies. And well, basically, I was working in this casino and racetrack company when I was offered an interview with Microsoft. For me, it was a little. At first, I hesitated to take that interview. I was not that familiar with all the Microsoft products. I mostly was in the Java world, so it was a little hard for me trying to figure out to move to Microsoft products. But yeah, after some thinking, I decided to take the challenge and go to the interview. I went to a hiring event in Mexico City, and later I was offered a position here in Microsoft. It was a hard transition. This was a little more than 2 years ago. It was a hard transition to move to US. Uh, my family, my wife, son, and daughter that moved with me. My son and daughter are not that young. They're around 10 and 18 years old, so it was harder for them moving here. But yeah, I think I don't regret any moment of doing this. I think it's a really good challenge for all of us. For me, from the technical and career perspective, and also for them learning a different culture, like Luis was saying, it's a really different point of view coming to a place like this, Seattle, that peoples of many backgrounds uh, for many different countries. So yeah, I think that was something really good. From the technical side, well, like I said, it was a challenge for me moving to Azure products, C Sharp. I was not familiar with that, but it was really helpful from a lot of people here, also managers, other teammates, software engineers that helped me ramp up uh, all these difference that I had on the technical side. All the people always tries to help you. Also the language, it was a little hard for me. I did speak English uh, since childhood, but it is different. I was not uh, used to speak every day, so it took me some time, and all the people was really helpful and understand that it's not your primary language, so they help you to understand and repeat if you don't understand very well something. From the learning side, I think I have learned a lot of things. It has been a great side for being here in Microsoft. I have learned not only from the technical skills, always Microsoft is trying to teach you to be a better leader on many things that could also help our customers. So that's some of the things that really uh, like from being here at Microsoft. Like I said, the culture also, Microsoft is a really customer-oriented company. Uh, so they also take into account uh, really hard the privacy and security of our customers. I work also with Luis at MMD, another organization in Microsoft. But even though that we're mostly on the management side of the devices or desktops, we also pay a lot of attention on the security and privacy of the customers. And we always, the company, Microsoft in general, keeps looking for new ways that we learn more about this privacy and security. Also, some other aspects that we really like from Microsoft is the inclusion and all this giving to the community, giving back to the community, not just for the company gaining or earnings, but give back to the community and the employees. That's really great about Microsoft. And the other thing that I really like about it is we have a concept that is Microsoft is seen as a one Microsoft. That's how we call it. That the company should be look for a customer problem like one whole company. Microsoft has a lot of products in this portfolio, but if you have a problem, any people of Microsoft will try to help you solve that problem, even if it's not related to your area exactly. Yeah, basically that's my journey. And yeah, besides the weather that I don't like that much from Seattle, I really like being here.
Elazar, thank you for your candor. I can really tell you enjoy what you do, but there were struggles along the way, and I think that helps potential candidates to know that sometimes there will be some things that you have to overcome, and that's the life we live. But looks like you keep putting the best foot forward, and you keep overcoming, and I think you and your family are going to be better for it. So hopefully, the decisions that you've made will benefit you for the long time. So thank you. In the interest of time, we will circle back, but we're going to move on. We got the chat box is filling up with questions, and we do have another guest that we need to introduce. So we're going to have Elazar hold on with us. We're going to introduce Mr. Ruben Vaca, and then see if we can't get into our panel discussion, and from there get some of these questions answered, because the hotline is blowing up, as they say. Ruben, are you there with us?
Hi, Larry. Can you hear me?
Yes. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Hey, we really appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'll be very brief. At the end, there will be questions, I understand, so feel free to ask anything. I'll be happy to help in any way. But basically, I was born and raised in Mexico, in a small city in the north of Mexico called Chihuahua, like the dog. And I did my software engineering degree in there. I was very interested in engineering because it's something that can have a lot of impact in other people's lives. And as an engineer, I like creating stuff and having this impact, which is something that I love here at Microsoft. The whole culture and the whole company is very focused on empowering others to achieve things. And through my experience in my first job, I was part of a relatively big company with 100,000 employees, and we were using Microsoft products all across the board. And I could feel this empowerment from Microsoft, like the tools and the services that they provide, and how they let other organizations focus on their own customers without caring about other things that Microsoft can help with. I moved to Washington in 2019 for another big tech company here in the area, living here in Bellevue, Washington. And just 1 month ago, I moved from my previous job to Microsoft as a software engineer. The reason is what I said. They have a strong focus on people, diversity and inclusion, and empowering others to achieve more, which is kind of cliche. Like many people say that they want to do that, but in here you can really feel it. And for my organization, we do device management for organizations. And I really, really love the complex problems that we need to work on and the impact we have directly in these companies and indirectly in all the customers that these companies have. And finally, if I had to give everyone here some advice, it would be to just go ahead and apply for a position in here. For many, many, many months, more than a year, I didn't apply to this type of company, thinking I couldn't do it. So something I would recommend is just go ahead and try it. As others mentioned, they focus a lot on your skills to solving problems. You don't have to know any particular technology in specific. So they just want smart people with a good attitude to learn. And yeah, just go ahead, apply, and hopefully you will be here at Microsoft soon.
Ruben, thank you so much. We really need to hear that. We need to hear those words. The candidates are asking a lot of questions. And I think we'll just, since we're here with you, we'll ask you a follow-up and go into our panel discussion. I guess that question would be, and I'm looking over here, the candidates want to know what type of things can they do to highlight themselves, to make themselves more attractive in the interview. Some people have said they've interviewed, but they weren't successful the first go round. Do you have any tips that they might be able to change the results this go round if they were to apply again?
Sure. The first one is just try again. Many people kind of could feel down after the first reject. Just for context, in 2019, I applied to Microsoft one time and did horrible. Sometimes you just don't know what to expect. I had never interviewed for any big company. So after you do it once, just try again. And I would focus a lot on, at least for the software engineering areas, I would focus a lot on technical skills to solve problems and communication skills. That's very important in this role. And when you want people in your team, you want smart people that can communicate their ideas well. So just those two big areas, it's what I would recommend, and try again.
Thank you so much. I think you're helping a lot of people just with that statement. I mean, Microsoft is a big operation, big firm. So there's probably multiple roles in multiple cities. So put your name back in the hat and try it again. So thank you, Ruben. I think at this point, we're going to go back up to the top. And Luis, are you with us?
Here I am.
Hey, Luis, we wanted to follow back up and just ask you, what are some of your most exciting aspects or projects or initiatives that you currently work on? What are the things that get you excited?
That's a good question. I think mostly everything of my day to day, it's pretty exciting because I personally, I love solving problems. I love all these technical things that we have to do every day as engineers, but not forgetting that we are part of a bigger vision, right? That we are part of a supply chain. We are part of a team that is intending to resolve an actual problem and give a solution in an efficient way. That's what excites me to like kind of see the bigger picture and understand how my own work directly impacts in a positive way. I personally, that's what I like to try to dig every single day and keep myself motivated, and actually keeps me more curious. Like I was mentioning in the chat, as you prepare, get curious. That's something that I practice every day. Curiosity. Try to learn more. Try to understand how am I really helping? How am I contributing? Yes, the technical problems are really interesting and super challenging. But what really like brings me joy is just to see like whenever the customer comes and say, hey, we love this, it's been raising our numbers, or our users are just so happy since you released this, and I know that I contributed directly in this feature. That is something that I really enjoy.
No, that's great. That is wonderful. And I think I think that's what our candidates want to know. They want to know what's going on at Microsoft and how can I be a part of it. And I think you're shedding a light on just that. So thank you so much. What about Gabriella? Is Gabriella still with us?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Gabby, listen, if a candidate was to be preparing for an interview with Microsoft, what are some things they can do to maximize their chances of being hired?
Mhm. Yeah, so I saw that in the link, Ernesto and others also posted some links to the interview guidance. Those are real. Like Microsoft doesn't actually play like tricks on the interviews, and the interviewers are really encouraged to assess the candidate as a whole. And so practicing the basics, I think, at least in my experience, has been what really helped me. And one of the most important aspects of the interview is actually communicating what you're thinking and communicating how you're solving the problem. So practicing with others and also trying to get some informational interviews. I saw some people were considering a change of roles or were considering, something specific. So having some informational interviews with people reaching out really like on LinkedIn or any networks they may have just to talk to people they know, even if just to have a chat about what it is that they do.
We're sorry, Gabby, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. We got a little feedback there. But yes, continue on.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so really like just practicing and focusing on what the objective of the interview is when you're answering and just not being afraid. And if you make a mistake, interviewers are really encouraged to not just focus on that, to give a good experience to the candidate overall as well, so that if you are not sure, just be honest and then see where you can go from there during the interview and what you can learn from the interview as well. They're learning from you too. So it's a two-way process.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope we can use your words and your guidance to get some of these top candidates, and they are top. I've read some of the chat. It's some strong, impressive candidates out there. So we're hoping we can bring them into Microsoft, and they'll be soon your teammates, hopefully. So what about Alizar? Alizar, are you there with us?
Yes. Okay.
Wanted to ask you, we're in the middle of COVID. We're still in the middle of this pandemic. We hear some good news and we hear bad news, in the media. Sometimes it's up and the numbers are going up, and sometimes the numbers are going down. How has Microsoft shown support during the pandemic?
Yes.
What?
Well, like I say, I started in Microsoft 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. When I started the pandemic, it was not still here. So I had the opportunity to start learning with all my teammates in the office. But since the pandemic started, Microsoft has been looking for different ways to help the employees. It's more challenging, for example, trying to start a new position in a company when you are not in the office. Up to the moment, we're still working from home. We can go to the office right now, but Microsoft encourages you that you remain home. It's better for all of us. So they are helping you with many things, trying to make your environment the most comfortable, so that you can work from home very well. Also, they're trying to facilitate many other things so that you can interact with people, even virtually, but you can interact, learning sessions, there are a lot of resources that they are continuously trying to give you so that you can continue to be in touch with other your teammates, but also being safe. One of the most important things that Microsoft is pursuing is to be safe for all the employees.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I think that way is true. Like you said, it's okay if you go by the office, but Microsoft strongly encourages you to stay home for the safety of everyone. So that's awesome. I like that. So you do have the ability to work remote, is what you're saying. Many of your positions are remote.
Yes, most of the positions are remote. There are some positions that need to be at the office. For example, if they are directly with the servers or need to be some contact directly with the with any of the devices or something like that. But for most of the positions that currently Microsoft is offering, we're remote.
Thank you. That is really good to know. And just so everyone knows, I'm kind of blending in questions that that we think will help you with the candidacy, but also some questions from the chat. So thank you so much, Alizar, for answering that, because it's dual purpose in helping our candidates here. So thank you. Ernesto, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yes. Hey, Ernesto, you mentioned an ERG. So would you, for the purpose of our candidates, tell us what the role of the ERG is, and how does Microsoft use that to reach its business objectives?
Yep. So employee resource groups are self-organized groups of employees that get some funding from Microsoft that advocate for certain groups. We have, I believe, 11 of them. There's the Latino, there's the Blacks, there's the disabilities, there's one for families, one for Asians. And they collaborate with the business groups to address issues related to diversity and inclusion, increase the hiring, increase the representation. In my personal opinion, the most important function that they serve is for retention and belonging. In my experience, is this kind of a closer touch that creates an environment where we want to stay engaged. And they provide an additional avenue for the members and employees to get different experiences that they cannot get with their day-to-day. I think Gabby kind of like mentioned it earlier, or like she's had some leadership opportunities from the chapter that we founded here in Boston that would not normally be available to somebody that's relatively junior step. We also host some events that are geared towards career development, right? So some workshops or some talks or what have you. But the important part here is that we work hand in hand with Microsoft, the organization, to advance all of the goals related with diversity and inclusion across the company as a whole.
Yeah, thank you. I've always felt that a company should look and feel like the markets it desires it to serve. So the ERGs look like that's exactly what it's doing in partnering with organizations like Trabajamos and HBCU Connect and the Connect platform, so that hopefully you can identify a diverse group of professionals that will come on at Microsoft, and also bring hopefully some different perspectives and some different ideas. I guess as a follow-up, would you say that that Microsoft is encouraging and growing these ERGs, or is it something where you get it to a certain point and it's been stagnant, or what would be your perception?
No, we're constantly encouraging people to join, right? Like it's part of the employee orientation. We're hosting events to raise visibility, and more importantly, we also welcome allies, right? I mean, you don't have to be of a Latino ethnicity to join the group. We also welcome allies, and we partner with those allies to also make sure that people get visibility, our members get the fair treatment that they deserve within the organization. So like, there's no limit to this. This is an investment for the future, because we believe that for us, as you mentioned, for us to be able to build software for the world, we need the whole world represented inside the company to be able to address those differences. So it's not just a how to say a decision to do something nice and have some money and have some fun. It is also an intelligent business decision, right? That helps us build better products for everyone.
And I guess since I have you, this question came in: how easy is it to move around within the company or within the organization if there are other opportunities or jobs? How easy or difficult is that?
It is definitely very easy. Like the market for open positions is available to external and internal candidates. So we also go through an application process to a given position. We go through an interview process as well. We assess the fit with the organization, and that's something that definitely can be done. Moving between roles is also something that is relatively easy. If the opportunity is there, you work with your manager is normally an advocate for your career, and he will try to find the best kind of experiences to prepare you for a given role. No? In my particular experience, I've gone from roles as a tester to a test lead, then a software engineer, then a software engineer manager, and so on and so forth, right? And so the mobility is something that is really, really part of what we want on our people as well, right? Flexibility was one of those core competencies that I mentioned earlier. So it is important for people to also exceed that. We make it as easy as possible.
And the last question, you just touched on a bit of that. You said that there are some core competencies or some skill sets, and you gave it to us during your keynote. For those who may have missed it, can you give us the 10-second rundown? If I'm looking for an opportunity at Microsoft and I want to be successful, Ernesto, tell me what I need to bring to the table.
Okay, I'm like, just first and foremost, just the plug to the link that I sent over the chat. I marked it with an important flag. So that's the career site. It has all of the interview tips. It mentions all of these competencies and whatnot also. But around them, we talk about flexibility, right? Your ability to learn individually, your ability to solve problems, right? We talk about collaboration. How do you work with others? How do you resolve conflict? How do you get into the best solution with a group of people? We talk about communication, right? Are you making your ideas clear? Are you creating clarity in a given environment? Or are you modeling the water, right? We also talk about technical excellence for the roles that have to do with programming and engineering, right? How do you approach problem solving? How do you use the tools like data structures or algorithms and whatnot to solve concrete problems in particular, right? So those are just some examples of the top ones. Driving for results, I think, is another core one that all of the roles need. And that's basically, I translate it to grit and perseverance, right? Do what you need to do to get things done. So maybe we have to change the scope. Maybe we have to work with a different team. Maybe we have to find a different library that has the solution. Maybe we have to code this a little bit different or move it out of the environment. Like there are many, many levels at which these can be exhibited that makes it such a core priority for almost everyone at the company.
Thank you so much, Ernesto. You've just given us the cheat sheet on what it takes to be successful. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we're hoping that our candidates here are listening and taking their notes, because you're giving us the code here.
Check the link. Check the link.
Yeah, check the link. Check the link. All right, we're getting down to the wire here, time wise. So I did see Mr. Alvin Chardon was able to join us. Mr. Alvin Chardon, who is a principal software engineering manager and lives near the Boston area. Mr. Chardon, are you there with us, Alvin?
Yes, I am right here.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I am not too bad. How are you?
Thank you
You
so
guys
much.
having fun?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I know you had another commitment, but we were hoping you would come and give us, if you could. We're getting close to time limits here, but if you can give us a minute about your background, what you're working on, and what it takes to be successful, we'd love that.
Okay. So I've been at Microsoft 19 years. It's been a long time. To Ernesto's point, yeah, thank you. To Ernesto's point about flexibility and moving around the company, I think I had an attention span of about 2 to 3 years, and I've done a lot of different roles. I've been a tester, I've been a program manager, I've been an engineer, I've been an architect, I am now a software engineering manager. And Microsoft makes it pretty easy to move around and find what's next for you, because we encourage it. You know, we want people to gain different perspectives. Every time you switch teams, you know, you bring a little something from the last team, and then you learn a little something from the new team. And of course, you know, moving talent around the company is a lot better than having talent go outside and go to the competition. I started as an intern, software intern, back in 2002. I am from Puerto Rico, lived my whole life in Puerto Rico. Got very lucky in the career fair. I shouldn't have been lucky. I should have been smart. That's something I always tell everyone. So there's a big career fair in my university, University of Puerto Rico, where a lot of big companies go in. And I saw the Microsoft booth, and it was packed. There were like probably 30 people hounding, the tables and all these things. And I saw that and I was intimidated. So I went around and I sort of quietly dropped my resume on a pile of resumes that was probably going to go nowhere. But then this one guy, he kind of sees the resume. He's like, hey, don't just drop off a resume, come talk to me. He was an alum. His name is Jose, and we're still good friends 20 years later. He started talking to me. We started talking about algorithms and some projects and stuff. And I was very impressed with everything he knew, and he put me down for an interview, a phone screen, basically, in the university, and that's how I got my foot in on that internship. After I came to Microsoft, I've worked on many different teams. I worked on developer tools, the C++ compiler, the Visual Studio IDE. I worked on application virtualization, where Ernesto interviewed me, and I joined that team. Man, that's probably like 9 or 8 years ago. I worked on the Microsoft Garage, which is our sort of internal incubator for people to go work on projects outside of their core, day job. And I am now a manager in one of the teams that does endpoint protection for Microsoft. My team does Android, Windows. We do the HoloLens, which is always very cool to get people excited with it. And I have 12 people now. So I highly encourage you guys. Have been talking a lot about how to prepare. They say if you want to be a writer, you write every day. So if you want to be a programmer, you program every day. If you want to pass an interview, you practice for it every day. I highly recommend, practicing your algorithms, practicing your data structures, getting some coaching how to approach a system design question. And these are, particularly those of you in the industry, these are things that we do every day. But then doing them in that 45-minute, time box with, potentially a scary interviewer on the other side is a very different situation. So you want to practice for that. You want to prepare for that, being in that situation and being able to show us, your strengths, show us your collaboration skills, show us your curiosity, and show us your passion. So highly encourage you prepare for a lot of for your interview. It really makes a big difference. Oh, and then my best interview tip, it's something super simple. Bring a cup of water. When somebody asks you a question, there's that moment where you need to start thinking about it. And if you just grab that cup of water, take a sip, that gets you 3 to 4 seconds where your brain starts kicking, and then you're like, oh, you come up with some ideas to get you started. So I always bring a cup of water or something to drink to an interview. It really, really helps. Lets your subconscious catch up with your conscious.
Alvin, thank you so much for those tips. I think you've helped us out a lot. You know what? It's been a long time since I've had to interview, but now I know I will make sure I have some water with me when I go in. I tell you, this has been a lot of fun. The Microsoft folks are an awesome group. It seemed like we had a strong contingency from Boston or from the Boston area, but I know with Microsoft being global, your opportunities are everywhere. You could be overseas, you could be here, you could be in Atlanta, you could be LA. I know it doesn't matter because you're so big, you're so global, so powerful. We love what you're doing here. For our candidates, this is your opportunity. Make sure, as Alvin has said, make sure you're prepared. Practice preparation, practice preparing. Find out what questions are tripping you up so that you have a great response next time so that you don't get tripped up on that. We're now at 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast. And I guess that'd be what, 4:30 out west. So we are out of time, but this has been awesome. For our candidates, thank you for your time. We want to respect your time, so we are going to be wrapping up. But the chat, make sure you have put any information or contact information you'd want Microsoft to see in the chat. We did record this, so we will be able to go back and see your questions. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you're prepared. Somebody quickly asked, if they applied once and didn't get hired, what should they do, or how long should they wait? Microsoft is a big firm. Go back and apply again. Go ahead and give yourself every opportunity you can to start a great career with this wonderful company. All right. So everybody there at Trabajamos, all the folks at Microsoft who have helped us to put together this fine event, thank you so much. All the Microsoft representatives who took time to be here, thank you for dedicating for our candidates, because it's important. We think this has been a great event. But now we're going to wrap up, and I think the next steps will be to make sure you check your email for instructions on submitting your resume for interview consideration. Do let the folks at Microsoft know that you were a part of this event. Maybe that'll give you a couple extra points that they know you were here and were able to take in the good information that the Microsoft representatives gave us. All right, so we're now a couple minutes over time period, but Alvin or Ernesto, do you guys have a parting comment that you want to leave so we can wrap up?
Actually, I was actually considering giving one additional piece of advice, right? Like, I've seen several people in the chat talking about them having applied before and not making it. And then what do? Do they apply again or whatever, right? So I would really encourage everyone who goes through an interview to take at least the last couple of minutes of your time with the interviewer and ask them, hey, what could I have done better? Or what should I pay attention for, right? That helps you both during the same day of the interview so that you can demonstrate that you have learned and taken that feedback and you're doing better in your next interviews. But also, if you don't make it in that particular time, you can take time and prepare on those pieces of advice that you got from the people when they observed you as how you performed during the interview. So you can take the time later, prepare, and then apply again. Try.
Thank you so much.
Yep. That's great advice, Ernesto. The only thing I would add is if you have some time between interview to interview, something I do when I interview, I sit down immediately and I type everything that just happened. Like, not extensive, but like, okay, here's what they asked me and here's how I answered. And then through the process of typing, I start thinking, oh, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I should have said this. I should have said that. And then I use those insights to apply to the next interviewer so that I can get better and better and better. So by the end of the loop, say you interview 3 or 4 times, you're at your best because you've been self-reflecting and making yourself better after every iteration.
Thank you both so much. Thank you all. Special shout out to Tamika Wilson and Jesse Sparks, who have done so much with their teams to bring this event together. I think we had a wonderful evening together. I wish we could do it a little longer, but in the essence of your time, we are going to say bye-bye. Be careful, be safe, and good luck with you on those Microsoft interviews. I'd love to see you next time coming back as a employee, enjoying your career over Microsoft. Thank you so much and good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.